Hello everyone and welcome to an Outlast Trials lore dive into what we know so far about the new prime assets, Otto and Arora Kress. I hope you enjoy. Born in 1899, Otto and Arora Kress were conceived as the firstborn children to Anton Kress, the wealthy patriarch of the Kress family estate and founder of successful industrial company Kress Chemical, and an unknown mother who died giving birth to the two siblings as a side effect of potential utero exposure to toxic chemicals, most likely attached to Anton's clothing and skin due to potential lax health and safety standards compared to today. Otto and Arora were horrifically conjoined at birth. During their childhood, they each developed and nurtured their own talents and skills, Otto focusing on politics, while Arora focusing on chemistry. Together, the twins used their skills and positions in Kress Chemical to earn a significant amount of influence in Buffalo, New York. This included empowering fellow politicians from behind the scenes to manipulate water pollution regulations and improving Kress Chemical's failing business developments as a result of Anton Kress's alcoholism, most likely caused by his deceased wife. Despite their success, Otto and Arora engaged in increasingly depraved activities, such as their incestuous relationship with one another, and at the beginning of the 1920s, Otto and Arora both participated in a series of murders in Buffalo, New York, most likely as a result of their mental state in response to rejection, both from their father and from society. These murders significantly escalated by the 1940s, with many of the siblings' victims most likely being prostitutes and locals. The serial killings would earn them the pseudonym the Buffalo Minotaur by the press. Further investigations into the Kress siblings' violent activities revealed that the two had used the Kress family estate as a laboratory for numerous victims and potential graveyard. In 1924, Anton Kress realized the depths of the twins' depravity and attempted to separate Otto and Arora using an electric saw. However, he was unsuccessful, as Arora injected Otto with a purple concoction that seemingly revitalized Otto, and as such, Anton was the one sawn in half by the twins, who both proceeded to slowly torture to death by sewing him back together with both halves upside down, and forcibly kept him alive for weeks before disposing of him. At this point, Clyde Perry began investigating the Buffalo Minotaur in 1957, believing the case would be of substantial interest to the Senyala facility's work in finding those with charismatic authority. Around 1958, they were arrested after police arrived at their home and found them covered in blood, seemingly taking their work home. Following their imprisonment for their serial murders, the twins were acquired by Perry, and they were inducted into the Murkoff Corporation as members of the Chemical Research and Development Division. Arora, having potentially learned to speak fluent Japanese solely to communicate with Dr. Yun Kusamura, a Japanese scientist who, like Wernicke, was a scientist of the Axis powers. Before World War II came to a close, and according to Gottlieb, used to be a part of Unit 731. Unit 731 was a covert biological and chemical warfare research and development unit of the Imperial Japanese Army that engaged in lethal human experimentation and biological weapon manufacturing. Estimates vary as to how many were killed between 1936 and 1945. Roughly 14,000 victims were murdered and at least 200,000 individuals have died due to infectious illnesses. But we can cover that in a future video. One day, Kusamura visits their laboratory to deliver news. The first is about Clyde Perry's death by the hands of Amelia. When Otto asks Arora about the other news, Kusamura knocks them unconscious with a chemical gas. Most likely the same chemical gas the reagents suffer from, based upon its color in the comic book, while they are not looking, and says that they will know once they wake up. Otto and Arora are then forcibly inducted as prime assets for Project Lathe. I have my own personal theories for Otto and Arora, as based off of Aurora's love of chemistry and the in-game model of Otto, it could be assumed that her chemical concoctions, along with making the player sick once thrown and dispersed as a gas, can potentially cause growth hormone imbalances to both Otto and Arora, due to her injecting him with it in the comics, and as Otto is of a hulking size and Arora seems to almost be withering away, it would come to my thought that perhaps they either are not very healthy upon growing up together being conjoined, which would be the most logical choice, or perhaps her chemistry is starting to affect them later on in their life. I've been a fan of Outlast Trials recently, and though I've never made a gameplay video on it, what brought me into the game has been mostly the lore. The descent into madness of Dr. Easterman with the chapters of Amelia, and how the Prime assets are all brought together through their weaponized charisma and mockingly familiar ties of Mother Gooseberry being the mother, Coil being the father, Franco Barbie being the child, and now Otto and Arora being the grandparents. It was quite the shock to see two Prime assets teased, but I suppose that in itself would have been a hint at potentially them being conjoined, as if having two Prime assets at once probably would have been a bit more of an undertaking. Hopefully this lore video gets you interested in the Outlast Trials as it did me, and feel free to let me know down in the comments below if there are things that I missed in the lore, things that you would like to see in the future, and overall just your interest in the Outlast Trials. I want to keep this video fairly brief just to see if people enjoy me making this kind of content, and I'm sure I have much to learn on this style of video, so feel free to leave some constructive criticism in the comments section, and if people enjoy, maybe we'll go further into the future lore and deep dives and maybe even potential theories. Let me know your thoughts, as I'd love to hear them. Don't forget to subscribe for more horror and demos, indie games, and possible future lore and theory videos, and hopefully I see you all in the next video. See you then.